Hi everybody, it's Yaya here. First of all, I want to wish all of you a happy Halloween. As you can see, I am sort of dressed for the occasion. I'm wearing a limited edition Halloween witch hat made by Creature Habit. You can find Vani's beautiful designs on Etsy, and thank you so very much for the hat. I really love it. Look how cute it is. Anyway, I wanted to make a video and answer some of your questions, and I've gotten an overwhelming amount of questions, like hundreds of them. So again, we'll only be able to answer a few of them for now, but I will keep trying to make time to make these videos in the future. So today I will answer 10 questions. However, before I do that, I wanted to send a special greeting out to Autumn. Her mom, Tammy Robinson Buer, she wrote to me on Facebook and told me that her daughter, a 14-year-old cosplayer, is sick in the hospital and she could use some pick-me-up. And so I wanted to say, hi, Autumn. I'm so sorry to hear that you're sick, that you're having to spend your days in a scary hospital. I know what that's like. It's really, really terrifying. And so I just want to say stay strong and keep thinking about your family. They're there for you. Think about your friends. Think about, what you're going to do when you do get better and focus on getting better. So when you're healthy again, you can go back to cosplaying and doing all the things you love, okay? So hang in there, Autumn, and thank you so much, Tammy, for writing. Anyway, let's start with a couple of let's start with some Twitter questions. First, we have devious_night who asked me, how do you prepare yourself for constant traveling to conventions? Any routine to follow in order to stay healthy? It is difficult to try to stay healthy for conventions. My schedule is very hectic. I spend a lot of my days at airports, traveling long days away from, any possible way of, cooking anything healthy for yourself. So for me, I try to learn about nutrition and learn about what kind of snacks I can eat that are healthy on the go. I always keep raw almonds with me, and if I have to buy something at the airport, I get, like yogurt and bananas and such things, or salad, um, or smoothie, whatever. Like it is difficult. I don't have that much time to work out. In fact, this year I haven't worked out as much as I did last year. And, it's not really about being skinny for me. Like, I would rather just feel healthy and feel like I have energy. So, my goal is to continue working towards getting into a routine and making time each day to do something physical. Of course, traveling, you're on your feet all day. And by the end of the day, like, you're too tired to go work out, but I will keep trying. Like, there are certain things you can do in the hotel room where you can, do crunches, Pilates, certain calisthenic workouts and such, or bring like one of those bands. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough for me. It really is. But what can I do? I can only do my best and keep trying to balance everything. So yeah, no miracle there. Next up, we have Planet's Twinkle. She is asking, or he, I don't know, question for the video. What do you do when a part of the costume isn't working or is frustrating to you? That happens all the time. It happens to all cosplayers. It makes us human, especially when you're doing something creative and something you've never done before. Obviously, certain things are going to frustrate you. Certain things aren't going to work out. And that's okay. What I do is I walk away from it. I will go and do another task. And that is why I actually like working on two costumes at the same time. Because if I get really sick of doing one task, I can move on to doing another task for the other costume. And that way I don't hurt my productivity. I'm still crafting. And then by the end of, the second task, if I'm like, really having a lot of fun with it, then it gets me motivated to go back and try the part that frustrated me before. So, but each person has their own way, but for me, I just walk away. It's okay. And next up, let's say we have a couple of Facebook questions. We have Stacy Lindsay. She is asking, as a cosplay guest, what are you looking for when a cosplayer is on stage? Great question. When I'm judging, and I do very frequently judge at conventions, I'm looking for a combination of things. First of all, I want to make sure that I adhere to the guidelines of the contest. So the convention has a guideline and they want certain things judged a certain way, and that is completely up to them. It's their con, it's their contest. So within those guidelines, most of the time, literally 99% of the time, it will be a combination of craftsmanship and stage presence. And that could be a full performance if you're doing a skit, that could be just a very confident walk on where you really embody the character. And for me, like I do my best, most fair job as a judge when I get to talk to the contestants beforehand and actually do some sort of a pre-judging with them, a craftsmanship judging. I really feel like without talking to the contestants one-on-one and finding out how they made their costumes, it is really impossible to judge from the stage, you know, who deserves more of a recognition. So if there is a prejudging, then I encourage contestants to bring reference pictures and work in progress pictures. Be very honest, tell the judges how you made your costume. If you got help, it's completely okay if you got help. Just let us know like the process of it. As for the stage, I look for confidence. I look for someone who is having fun on stage, who, you know, really can showcase the character's personality through. And it doesn't mean you have to do, you know, an elaborate fighting skit if your character is a martial artist, but it's just about like, do you have the poses? Do you have the swagger of the character? And the other thing to consider is timing. Knowing that too little time on stage is not a good thing, but if you overstay your welcome and stay on stage for a really long time, that also can bore the audience. That can sort of like, you have more chances of messing up. So keep it short, keep it sweet, leave the audience and the judges wanting more, and really just have a great time on stage. All right, continue on. We have Jennifer Thuriot. She's asking, what is your process for working on a costume? Well, for me, I do what is called binge crafting. That means that once I decide to do a costume, I will avidly and very aggressively start looking for the materials, because without the materials, I can't have the physical costume. So that's, you know, fabric, that's, you know, any sort of chemicals needed for casting or warbler, or, you know, even notions like zippers and snaps and thread and needles and such. Needles break. Everything that I need for the costume I want to have. The wigs, the shoes. I order things online. I actually enjoy ordering things online more than going to hunt for them at a mall, because it can be very difficult to find exactly what you want, and you could waste an entire day looking for one item when you can just go online and within like an hour, you know, you can see if it is there or not. Once the materials are in my house, once they start arriving at my door, or I buy them, then the costume becomes a realistic project. So then I actually will set aside as much time as I have. I will actually set full days or full weeks aside to binge work on the costume, because I sort of like to get lost in a project. I like to really you know, how do you say, like dive into a project and really, like, that's when I'm the most creative. That's when I, you know, produce the best costumes, is when I can just continue working on it for like 8 hours, 10 hours a day, and it's all consuming. So that's how I made Carmilla. That's how I made Fiora. All of C2, all of those costumes, you know, that is sort of how I've made them, is very deliberate budgeting of time, of money, and then figuring out like when I can work on them in one shebang. So yeah. Anyway, continue on. We have Laura Palate. I'm sorry. How do you decide which conventions to go to? Great question. I get asked this question all the time. Are you going to be at this con? Are you going to be at that con? Well, soon my website, yayahan.com, will relaunch where I will have an events page. So at one glance, you can see what conventions I will be at. That is the most frustrating thing currently about not having a working website, is that I can't list, in a very easy to find way what cons I will be at. The thing about conventions to me is that since 2005, cosplay and conventions have become my sole source of income. So for me, I have to decide, not just for myself, my own fun as a cosplayer, as a person, which conventions to go to. I have to first and foremost put my company as a priority, because that's how I pay my bills, and that's how I put food on the table. So most of the time I will try to choose conventions various ways. If a convention invites me as a guest, then that convention will always take priority, because the convention will, facilitate my travel, my hotel. That makes it easier for me to physically be there, and I will be advertised, on the convention website, so people actually know that I will be there. So, people will come to my booth more often, and so it's just, as a business decision, that is generally, the best way to get me at a con is see if your con can invite me. And I've been going to conventions as a guest since 2001. So it's been 12 years now. And I'm very experienced at giving panels, doing judging. So like, I'm not going to just show up and be like, here I am. Like, I'm going to show up and actually contribute to conventions programming. I will do things actively to make it a, more interesting event, and I will actually give you content of programming. So yes, talk to your con if you want to see me there, and have them reach out to me. I have a booking website, email now. It's booking@yayahan.com, or just email me at yaya@yayahan.com, or reach out to me on Facebook or Twitter, whatever. Just get a hold of me. Let me know what the con is all about. Aside from that, there's certain staple conventions that my company has always been a part of. So since 2005, 2006, my company has always had a booth at those conventions, such as Otakon, such as Anime Central, such as Katsucon, Anime Expo. Those conventions are great for my company, whether I'm there or not. Although, of course, I want to be there as much as possible, because cons are fun and I love to go though. So you most likely, if you've seen my company's booth with the ears, wings, and such at a convention before, especially a bigger convention, I will most likely be there. But yeah, it's just like, it is my job. It's not just a hobby, so I have to be a little bit careful how I choose my cons. And actually, this year, my goal has been to sort of really pace myself. I think it's very important for any cosplayer to pace themselves, because it's very easy to get wrapped up in going to conventions one after another. And sometimes you can go to, multiple in a row. I think the most I've gone to is 7 in a row. And it's like 7 weekend in, 7 different cities, a few different countries. It gets really strenuous and it can really weigh on you. So I try to do maybe like 2, at the most 3 conventions in a row, and then I get a weekend off where I can be at home and make costumes and lazy around or whatever. Hopefully that answered your question. Moving on, let's see. We have Wolf Sorrow, who said, this is a very interesting question, and actually a lot of you asked the same question, so I will answer it. You guys wanted to know, to what extent should people focus on cosplaying their body type or size, considering how unrealistic most anime, video game, comic book characters are? I've been answering this question since I started cosplaying. I've been contemplating this question for over a decade. I have been ridiculed for my body type, for my body size, and both ways, like, you're too skinny or you're too fat, or whatever, like. And I've realized that literally it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter if you are a Victoria's Secret supermodel. And when you're cosplaying, you will get ridiculed in some way for your looks, for your body. There is no way to avoid it. Like, just understand if you're gonna cosplay, people will say shit about your body, about your face, about your size, about your arms, about every part of your body. So that is simply because I think that the people who are looking at you in costume, they are comparing you to those impossible anime characters, because in their mind they have a perfect vision of what those characters should look like. So, you know, it's really interesting because if you are not their ideal of what that character should look like in real life, then they will talk about that and they will criticize you for it. They will point out that you don't look like the character 100%. But if you look too much like the character, if you really go above and beyond, or you happen to look just like the character or whatever, or you're able to take a photo that looks just like, you know, it's out of the comic book or the game, if you achieve perfection, 100% accuracy, you will still get ridiculed. You'll still get criticized for being too obsessive, for being too serious, taking cosplay too serious, because it should be fun. It can only be fun. It can't be taken serious. And for like being like for doing things, you know, that are normal to achieve that look, such as with Jessica Rabbit. When I did Jessica, I got a lot of criticism for wearing the corset, and to the point that I'm overstrained myself at a photo shoot, and they're just, they're saying it's not healthy, you shouldn't do that, you should not do that for cosplay, and it's like, it's my decision. I'm used to wearing corsets. For each person, they have good days, they have bad days. Some days I can stay in a corset for 12 hours. Other days, for whatever reason, I can only stay in it for an hour or so, and then I just feel kind of like I can't breathe. And that's okay. You're human. You have your good days, you have your bad days. And it is my personal decision to create that body shape for Jessica Rabbit because that is what I wanted to do. And so what it comes down to is, don't worry about what people think. Do not worry about your body size, your body shape. Try to achieve the silhouette of the character. Try to, like, even if you are not exactly the right height for the character or the body shape for the character, try to see if you can sort of like emulate the silhouette. Like if the character has, like Sailor Senshis, for example, you can actually do certain tweaks to make yourself have longer legs by making the leotard shorter and setting the skirt a little higher on your waist, and that achieves the illusion of you having longer legs. And there's things that you can do that are very creative, that are fun to try to figure out, to experiment with, to sort of like, emulate a character's impossible body type. And then beyond that, so what if, you're not, you don't have a waist that's like, 18 inches like they do. Like, who gives a shit? Just have fun with your costume. Don't focus on the negativity. Focus on the positives of what that you get out of cosplay. Focus on, the fun that you have with your friends, the little kids that you get to meet who are so excited to see you because you're dressed as their favorite character. Focus on the fun of making the actual costume, and just like, don't worry too much about, what people will think of how you look in your costume, because we're doing this for ourselves. Cosplay should first and foremost be for yourself. It should be something you enjoy. So if you enjoy dressing up as a character, doesn't matter what they look like, do it. All right, continue on. Jennifer McWilliams asking, when you got started, did you work solo or did you have help from anyone? Well, I started back in '99. That was the first time I touched a sewing machine and tried to sew. And I had no idea. I was a newbie kid. I did not know how to craft in any way, but I really love to draw. So like I was, I really I understood like, how garments draped. I understood, detailing. I really enjoyed details and such. And I think that's why my costumes are so detailed, because it comes from my art background. Um, but I had a friend who showed me how to sew basic stitches on a sewing machine, and she taught me how to read a pattern. So that is the only help I received when I made my first costume. I have it actually. I should make a video with my first costume. Um, it was very badly sewn, but I did it myself and it felt incredible. And the thing is, during that time period in 99, 2000, such, there was no way to buy a costume on eBay. You could not get a costume commissioned. You could not get a costume, just delivered to your door. So you were very limited. If you wanted to cosplay, you were forced to make it yourself, or you had to like beg your mom or your grandma to help you. My mom lives in Germany. The rest of my family live in China, so I had no one from my family who could actually show me how to sew. So thankfully, had one friend who taught me like the basics, and then from that point on, everything else was just experimenting. And I think because I had to make my own costumes from the very beginning, I really enjoyed that process, and it is actually my favorite part of cosplay is the craftsmanship process. So to this day, I still insist on making my costumes myself, unless it is a special occasion where I get to collaborate with Pit Viper Studios, for example, or possibly with Reeves FX, certain very talented other artists, or I've commissioned Vulpin props to make my Psylocke blades, because I want to support other artists, and I knew he would do a really fantastic job. So I always credit people who do help me with my costumes, such as Brian, whenever he helps me, like, like work with power tools and cut wood with a power saw. I make sure to credit him. For the most part, I personally get the most joy when I physically can be the one making all my costumes. Like, that is the most fun part of cosplay to me. All right, so a couple more questions left. I know this video is getting long. We have Jocelyn McFarlane. She's asking, do you ever have downtime? It seems like you're always on the go, but do you take time out specifically to relax? I sometimes will schedule an off day. Those are rare. Mostly those are after I've done an international trip or a really big convention like San Diego Comic-Con or Dragon Con. I would take the following day to just lay around on the couch or sleep. And I think that's very, very important. I think like, yeah, I could continue to push myself to make more costumes, but it's like with everything in life, you have to find the balance. Your body has to recharge after you've been on your feet and, ran around for 4 days. You really do need a day to relax. And I mean, on those days, I do nothing. I catch up on shows. I maybe will play a video game and, just really lay around and, maybe go see a movie, but like most of the time I don't even want to leave the house. I'm just like, just my bed. My bed is good. So I do try to relax, but those days are few and far between. I get maybe one off day once a month or once every 5, 6, or 6 weeks. Yeah. All right. One more question from Valerie the Oliveira. What are some tips in building self-confidence for cosplay that shows skin and are sexy? A lot of you, especially women, ask me this same question. So, Valerie and all of you, this is exactly what my answer is to you, and that is cosplay is a great self-confidence builder. It really is. But you need to make sure that you're comfortable with what you're wearing. As a woman, I can tell you that, it is important to feel comfortable in your skin. All of us want to feel comfortable in our skin. In a costume, it can be even more nerve-wracking than if you're going to prom or going to a party or a wedding or something where, you have to look good. With a costume, you are, portraying a character. So you'll have not only people looking at you, you'll have people who are fans of the character looking at you because they want to see, like, you know, it's like, oh, this is my favorite character. And you have to be aware of the setting that you're in. Like, there are conventions that are family cons, and, you know, there will be a lot of kids there. So I will choose costumes based on, you know, the logistics of the convention and what type of convention it is. Like a Dragon Con, you know, I could get away with doing Anaxnamun from the Mummy, and even then with the body paint, I didn't actually leave my hotel room until midnight. So at that point, all the kids had gone back to bed. So it's like I could run around and actually felt very covered in my body paint because it was so thick. It was like wearing clothes almost like, but I knew that to other people I would appear, you know, naked. So think about what you're comfortable with. Think about, you know, and like think about what your personal limitations are in terms of what you would want to wear. So like, you know, for some of us, we have certain body parts that we don't want to show off, such as, you know, our stomachs or our butts. And that's perfectly okay. You don't have to choose costumes to, you know, show those assets. You can modify a costume. You can make it a little more modest and make the skirt a little longer or make the top a little longer so that you don't have to show as much as you want to. But if you want to show skin because you've worked hard on your body, or, you know, you just want to, like, even if, you know, even if you just want to, you know, be accurate to the character, it's perfectly okay. Like, just do what you feel comfortable with. Think about what you're willing to show, and think about like where you're going to go and how people will see you, because not every single person will know what character you're dressed up as. So if your character wears lingerie, then people who don't know the character will just think that you're a girl in lingerie. When I did Christy, I was basically a dominatrix, you know, to people who didn't know who Christy from Dead or Alive was. And, you know, people thought that I bought the outfit at a fetish store when I actually made it from scratch, to be accurate. But I was very self-conscious. I was very conscious of what I looked like, and actually wore a cloak over myself to walk around the hotel to get to the photo shoot location where I had to, you know, like where I had scheduled to do a photo shoot. So only when I got to the photo shoot location without that many people around, then I took the cloak off and I posed, and then put the cloak back on and went back to the convention, because I just didn't feel comfortable walking around in that outfit knowing that, you know, most people would not understand why I was dressed that way. In the end, it all comes down to what you want to do. Cannot reiterate it enough that there are no guidelines for cosplay. Know that cosplay has both great benefits and some disadvantages. Like, you will experience a lot of positive and negative things throughout it, and that's okay. Like, think about why you want to cosplay, if it's worth it, and if the positives outweigh the negatives, then go for it. You know, then do it. So hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit long, but if you sat through all of this, then comment below and let me know what you thought of it, and what you think of some of these topics. Some of these topics are pretty controversial, and give me your opinions on what you think about some of the things I talked about. And be sure to check out yayahan.com. I will launch on November 1st. So check the website, yayahan.com, and there will be lots of goodies and new galleries and new fun stuff. So until then, take care, you guys.